Topics were number 1, what have you learned from these novels, lessons, etc. Topic 2, discuss the transformation of Nathaniel from the first book to the final book. Number 3, in what ways are they about self-sacrifice? Number 4, any applicability of these novels to our real-world lives? Number 5, what, if anything, is Stroud saying about power, desire for power, etc.? And number 6, where'd it go? Discuss the character of Bartimaeus. So, topic 5, no mercy in magic. Somebody always has to be different. Topic 2, good title. Puberty for a magician can be such a bitch. Topic, there's no topic given. Or it just says topic, but no number. Nathaniel's transformation through, which was what? Number 2. I'm just doing this for me because it's very helpful. Not 7, dummy. 2. Nathaniel's transformation through the Bartimaeus trilogy, throughout the Bartimaeus trilogy. Topic 1, another fall of an empire. Ooh, that's interesting. Because I immediately forgot what topic 1 was. Topic 5, different desires of power. Topic 6, Bartimaeus the demon, good or evil. Topic 2, from a boy to a man. Topic 2, Nathaniel or John Mandrake, the glass persona. Topic 1, lessons learned from the Bartimaeus trilogy. Topic 2, consistent change. Topic 4, any applicability to the real world. The reality embedded within a fantasy. Topic 6, Bartimaeus, the unusual demon. Topic 5, power, a struggle for control. And I think that was the first one. Topic 5, no mercy in magic. Steal the big thick one. Okay. So, shoot, that's right. I said I would make some comments about Bartimaeus, about the ending, before we get into Lirael. In Lirael's 700 pages. No, I won't. I'll just let Bartimaeus in the end hang as it is. So let's get back to Garth Nix. This is just kind of refresher. If you've forgotten Lirael, if you've forgotten Sabriel by now, in Sabriel, what do we see happen? Brief overview. She discovers her father's in death. She has to go rescue him. She rescues him. They find out about Caragor. She meets Touchstone. Finds out Mogget is more than what Mogget appears to be. They defeat Caragor. She dies. She comes back. And are we told they all live happily ever after? No, we're not. Okay? So, this novel, we're told at the beginning after the prologue. We don't know when the prologue takes place. Okay? But we're told in the first chapter after the prologue, it's in the 14th year of the restoration of King Touchstone. So originally I had up here 14 years after Sabriel. Well, that's not right. Because we find out in the chapter about Sameth, that he is a year shy of his 17th birthday. Okay? Well, that obviously means you go back 17 years. At the very least is when Sabriel meets Touchstone. But it's the 14th year of its restoration. So, at the end of Sabriel, how long does it take, approximately, at least, for, 1, Sabriel and Touchstone to marry, because they do, and then 2, to reestablish the old, what's its title? Kingdom. Because it's not really a kingdom when the novel begins, right? It was a kingdom, but there hasn't been a king for how long? couple hundred years. Okay, so the restoration of King Touchstone, that is, Touchstone, who's been freed from the ship, is now restored to his rightful office. He is made king. So there's 3 years between, apparently, the end of Sabriel and when that event occurs. If we can speculate, why? Why might it take 3 years?
The sister.
Okay.
The older sister was born before him, right? So
okay.
there's a couple years there.
Yeah. He does have an older sister. What else? What might Sabriel and Touchstone be doing, even before they get married? Well, there's still a problem of, the dead. There's a problem of broken charter stones that have got to be replaced or repaired. They've got to go back to that one little town, what's it called, Nesto, the little fishing community, and get rid of the dead there. Okay. So there's repair to be done to the old kingdom. Okay. I'm going to skip the prologue entirely. If you come to like these books, I really, really, really recommend the 2 subsequent books after this series. One is called Golden Hand, I think, and the other one, Lirael. Okay. Without saying anything about them, Lirael is set several hundred years in the past. Several hundred. Okay? And Golden Hand, I just read it this January or so. If I remember correctly, is set, it's after Abhorsen, the next book in the series after this one. Okay, so skip the prologue, as I said, and we begin with our title character, Lirael. How old is she? Notice, it's an ill-favored birthday.
She's older than most of the kids there. So.
She's older than most of the kids there. Okay. Let me challenge you on that, shall we? She's older for what?
For the
yeah, it's probably been a while if you started this after the
Claire, the seers or the sight.
The sight.
There you go.
Usually, sight occurs when? Right around the beginning of adolescence or puberty. 11, 12, 13, 14's getting kind of late. How old is she? It's 15, isn't she? 15, 16? 14. 14 today, page 15. Okay? And we're told that's pretty late. Okay? Now, do we know what the sight is when we first start hearing about it? No, not really. But we've met some of the Claire before, right? The 2 sisters, okay, who helped rescue Sabriel and Touchstone from the palace in the Kingdom City, Palace City of Belisar. Okay? They bring the paper wing to them. They get on the paper wing. They fly south, etc. Okay? So we meet those 2. We're going to meet them again here. Okay? And I'm trying to get through roughly today, if at all possible, about 232 pages. So we're going to, fly. So she's woken up. For most people, what's a birthday like?
Happy day.
It's a happy day. I say most people. I don't like my birthday, personally. I haven't liked my birthday for, 20 or 30 years. I just don't get excited. One of my sisters, first thing, she puts on the Beatles' birthday song, and she's happy day to me the entire, in fact, it's not a day, it's a week. It's a week-long celebration. Starts before her birthday, peaks on her birthday, and then kind of dribbles off, afterwards, okay? What about Lirael? I'm going to keep saying Sabriel. I apologize. What about Lirael? Not a good day. Why not? Where's her family? Dead or she doesn't know. Right? Sisters, brothers? None that she knows of. Parents? Never knew her father. Mom kind of ditched her. Notice emphasis on kind of, okay, before she died. So, somebody else has had an awakening, that is, she has seen the sight. Sure, she has been given the gift of sight. What is sight? Seeing the future. Traditionally in literature, if someone has sight, today we call it what? We had another word on there. Second sight, or ESP, or we start using all kinds of big words like they're clairvoyant. They can see into the future. Okay? In older literature, classical literature, biblical literature, these people are called seers. Why? They are seers. They're people who see. What do they see? Is it merely seeing into the future? No, it's not. The clair also see what?
What could be and what couldn't, or just alternate realities.
Alternate realities, possible realities. What else? What's happening now? That is, they can see images of what's going on now. Okay? What's the purpose of the clair?
Gathering where they can see larger images.
Yeah, okay. So that's when they have their gatherings, and you're going to see in the novel, a bunch of numbers. A gathering of 10, a gathering of 20, a gathering of 64, a gathering of 900, Whole bunch of clair. Why? Well, that's an important thing. That is something major is, so to speak, to be revealed. Okay? That kind of sidesteps what the question is, though. What's the purpose of the clair? It's this. It's to see. It's not only for themselves. What's the purpose of their seeing?
Defense against evil.
It's a defense against evil, so who do they tell what they see? Yeah, if there is one, Touchstone, by the way, Gladstone's previous set of novels. We're going to get them all mixed up here. That's fine. If there is one, a king. If there is one, an Abhorsen, who is Sabriel. Okay? So that they can go about their kingly defensive, Sabrielish, Abhorsen procedures and such. Okay? So her aunt comes in, tells her to get dressed. So she does have some family. How well does she get along with her Aunt Kirith? Yeah, she doesn't. Why not? Or at least, what's one reason?
It's a burden for her aunt. Well, she thinks it's a burden for her.
She thinks that she's a burden on her aunt. Okay, why else? That's one reason. Her aunt doesn't tell her much, does she? Her aunt hasn't told her much about her father. Hasn't told her anything about her father. Hasn't told her much about her mother, her own sister. Okay? So, chapter 3, Paper Wings. She's supposed to be getting ready to go to the big celebration, and instead, where does she go? Where do the Clare live?
Glacier.
In a glacier. Not on, in a glacier. On a huge mountain, in your map, it's way to the north. Okay? Wait, so here's all of the Old Kingdom. Belisar is here. Wait, is that right? Yeah, Belisar is here. Clare's Glacier is here. And the map's a little bit different, if I remember correctly, from Sabriel, because there's an area north of the Clare's Glacier, and then there's an area north of that. That aren't shown on this map. They are shown in the next book, and indefinitely the book that comes, the final book. So she goes up to the top of the glacier where there's essentially a hangar carved out. For what purpose? Paper wings. Because again, who uses the paper wings? The Claire do. The paper wings aren't made really by anybody else. They're made and operated, so to speak, by the Claire. So does she go up there to hop a paper wing and, see the sights? What's she going to do? Suicide. She's 14 years old. She thinks, I have no purpose in living. Why? I'm not one of these. If the purpose of a Claire is to become a seer, and she hasn't become a seer yet, she's thinking, I'm not going to. So I might as well just die. Okay? But while up there, notice she hides because she sees two paper wings come in. And she sees the occupants come out. Touchstone, Sabriel. Okay? She overhears the conversation a little bit. And chapter 4, when she overhears the conversation, she hears them talking about trouble in the West. Okay, go back to that. Go back to that map. Now, the West isn't talking about west of the Clares Glacier. The West is talking about this area in the Old Kingdom. Essentially everything west of the Ratterland River, that big river that runs essentially north and south. Okay? And we find out that there's some powerful magic at work, okay, that's causing all kinds of problems. Page 59, Sabriel says, a necromancer or free magic sorcerer, one who wears a bronze mask. Okay? Well, I lied earlier. I said I wasn't going to say anything about the prologue. Who are we introduced to in the prologue? Clore of the Mask, as she's called, and Hedge. Okay? Hedge is a necromancer. Clore's a necromancer too, but Clore's a little different than a necromancer. There's more to Clore than just being a necromancer. A necromancer, bear in mind, does what? Brings back the dead. Goes into death, okay, and can bring back the dead. The reason I say there's more to Clore than that is, never mind, I won't say anything because I don't want to give anything away about something later. Let's see here. So we find out about Sameth's older sister, Elamir, page 63. They're talking about her. They're talking about Sameth and such. Okay, and let's see here. 66. Lirael is spotted by Sabriel. One of the old Clare, named Morel, page 69, asks, why are you hiding? Why aren't you at the awakening? That is, you shouldn't be here. You should be down where everybody else your age is, celebrating, the girls awakening into the... So she says, it's my birthday. Is that a proper answer? No, that's I would put non sequitur. That does not follow what the question was. Why aren't you there? Because my birthday. That's like saying, it's Friday, it must be yellow. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you're 14. Sanar says. Sanar and Rael are the two sisters that met Sabriel and Touchstone outside the palace when they rescued them. Okay? She says, and you're worried because the sight hasn't awoken in you. Notice, she's a seer. To be a seer doesn't mean you're necessarily ultimately perceptive. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what Lirael's problem is here. Okay? So you're 14, you're worried the sight hasn't woken in you. She nods. It comes late to some of us. The sister, Sanar says. Often, the later it is, the more strongly it wakes. The sight did not come to me and Rael till we were 16. Now, what do we know about these two as of now, from the little bit in this book and from what we saw in Sabriel? They have influence. Notice they're up there with this meeting with the king and queen. So they're not low-level Claire, so to speak. Okay? They're also what? Because she says it herself. Often the later it is, the more strongly it wakes. The sight did not come to me and Rael till we were 16. Has no one told you that? No. 16, that was impossible. No, not 16, really. Yeah, 16 and a half, in fact. We thought it would never come, but it did. I suppose you couldn't bear another awakening. Is that why you came up here? Notice, which one is this, Rael? Rael is implying what? Oh, I know why you came up here. And I think that's because, and I could be reading into it, I think that's because Rael maybe had the same idea when she was 14. Okay? So when Sanar, I think it is, says, the later it comes, the more strongly it comes, what is she implying about she and her sister? Ooh, the force is strong with these two, because it came when they were so old. So, Lirael says, yes, that's why I came up here. She felt like jumping forward, hugging everybody. Okay? Sanar, part of our problem back then was having too much time to think about our lack of the sight. Why? Because what do you do once you have the sight? See, once you become a seer, once you have the sight, then you're put to work. You get called to be part of the gathering or whatever it is, for everybody to come in. Okay? Since we weren't part of the watch and didn't have the sight training, because it's not just enough to have the awakening, you then have to be trained to use it, right? Star Wars. A Jedi doesn't just naturally know automatically how to do everything, right? They have to be trained. They have to learn how to use a lightsaber. Similarly, these people have to learn how to do what? Control what they see. Focus what they see. Okay? So, she implies, oh no, your problem is, Lirael, you've got too much time on your hands. You don't have enough to do. You don't have enough to keep you busy. Okay? Of course, we didn't want to have to do extra shifts on the roster duties either. Roster duties is probably things like cleaning rooms, cleaning toilets, washing dishes. No, she doesn't want to do that. Wasn't usual for us to be assigned a post before we turned 18, but we asked, and the watch agreed we should be given proper work. Notice, dishes, toilets, it's not proper work for a Claire. You hire non-seeing people to do that. So, they go on, they talk about, so we learned how to fly, sight awoke in us a year after that, etc., etc. So Sanar says, page 72, question is, what kind of work would you be good at? Okay? How do you determine what kind of work you would be good at? How many of you knew, since nobody in here should be a freshman, some of you might be, how many of you knew, when you applied to MTSU, exactly what you wanted to do? Some of you maybe. Some of you might have gotten here and you took a variety of courses and you maybe changed majors. Some of you might have knew, you started taking courses in your major and you thought, hell no, and you ran away from that as fast as possible. So, what would suit you best? And she starts listing off things. If you've never read it before and you still don't have any idea of what you should do what you're quote unquote called to do in life. Is it your or mine? I think it's mine. Get the book. What color is my parachute? The parachute there is the metaphor for what will save you in life. And the color is that there's a multitudinous colors of parachutes. And we each have one. It's essentially what's the thing that will make you most fulfilled in life, kind of a thing. It's a book about finding your way, so to speak. Okay? So she mentions, what would you like to do? Rangers? Paper wing flight? Learn how to fly a plane? Merchant office? Bank? Building and construction? Infirmary? Steamworks? This kind of sounds like our world. You want to join the military? Be all you can be, discover the world, the whole 9 yards. You want to be an airline pilot? You want to be a business person? Merchant office? You want to be a banker? You want to go into construction? You want to be a healthcare worker? Steamworks. She's like, what are you good at? There's the problem. What are you good at? She's 14. How does she know what she's good at? Not very good. They ask her, how's your swordcraft, archery? Not very good. Best at charter magic, I think, and music. Paper wings then. Okay, 14, a little young. And Lirael says, when they suggest maybe that she hated talking to people, let alone paper wings. I think I'd like to work in the library. She hates talking to people. What are librarians supposedly known for? You go in, you start making noise. Shh! No talking in here, right? A library is supposed to be a place of silence. What else? Don't think MTSU library. I'm not knocking I kind of am. Not knocking MTSU's library, but you've not been to a real library if you've been in MTSU's library. You've not been in a real library if you've been in Murfreesboro Library. I mean real library. Like the Library of Congress, the Harvard University Library, Cambridge University Library, Oxford University Libraries of the various colleges, the British Library, okay, where you have millions upon millions of books, and you can walk through stacks and never see another person. That's what she wants. Why? Because she'll never see another person. She'll never have to talk to somebody. What does this tell us about Lirael? She's not very outgoing, is she? She's not very quote-unquote friendly. Okay? She likes what, apparently? Books. She's an English major, in other words. Okay? Why does she say this? It's the logical place, page 73, where she could avoid people the most. Okay? So, we're told the library, that can be dangerous to a girl of 14. Or a woman of 40 for that matter. Her sister says, only in parts, the old levels. What does she mean? A library can be dangerous. Bill? What can be dangerous about a library? MTSUs. I know now we have the makerspace. You could hurt yourself, put your hand in the 3D maker or something, or cut yourself or whatever.
It's full of information.
Keep going, Miriam.
Could learn too much that you're not supposed to.
She's still young. Books.
Books can be dangerous. Ray Bradbury writes in Fahrenheit 451. The character of Guy Montag, who is a fireman, not Guy Montag, Captain Beatty, who's a fireman. And in that book, firemen's jobs, anybody read that? Is to start fires, not to put them out. In that novel, the purpose of the fireman is to burn books. Okay? And there's this long passage when Montag The central character in the novel is wrestling with his profession, his job of burning books. He doesn't understand why we burn books in the novel. And his boss, Captain Beatty, says, ultimately, because a book is a loaded weapon in the person next to you. A book is a dangerous thing. How so? What happens if Gage reads a book that none of you have access to? Gage now has what that you don't have?
Information from that book.
Information or ideas from that book. What if that information is how to overthrow your English 2020 class? Well, if only one person has it, go ahead, try it. But just looking at the size of them, if Tyler and Shelby get that information, I'm in trouble. I might be able to take on Gage. Get those two to stand up. No way. Okay? Not even if I was 20 years younger. No way. Okay? Ideas, Bradbury's saying there, are dangerous. Okay? That's what Nix is implying here. That's why you get the comment, or a woman of 40. Okay? Because ideas can be planted. It's no accident that in totalitarian regimes, one of the things that the people are prohibited from having or have limited access to are things like books or the internet. You know, you can't take your laptop and go to China today and have all the access to the information that you would have right here in this room. Why? Because there are all kinds of firewalls that not the Chinese government puts in place. It puts in some. But Google and Facebook and Twitter put into place. Why? They don't want to anger the Chinese government. So there are things you cannot search for in China. Okay? Information can be dangerous. It can lead to revolution and such. So, Lirael says, well, you know, only in parts, the old levels. So what does she mean by that? Well, their library's not like MTSU's, right? MTSU's is supposed to be haunted. I'm not kidding. I've got a colleague who teaches a class on ghost stories, and one of the things he does is he takes a tour around campus to the quote-unquote haunted spots on campus, okay? And there have been a number of stories by people who do not know each other over in the library, you know, sitting up on, I think it is the 4th floor in one of the carols and having suddenly a woman in white stand right next to them and the person sitting there studying and look up and there's a person in kind of shimmering white and then just suddenly the hair stands on the arms and the back of the neck and whoosh, they leave. Because it's weird. Been a couple of deaths in a couple of dorms. One of the dorms, room somebody died in, the actual dorm room has been walled off so that you can't tell there was a dorm room there. So you have a door, and then where should be a door, it's a cement block, and onto the next room. No, this is not the room you're looking for, kind of a thing. Okay? So she means by the old levels what? Well, what does Lirael discover? Because we're going to get to it pretty quick. As she goes deeper and deeper into the library.
Dangerous.
How so?
There's different storage of equipment, swords and weapons, and
So-
then also other dangerous objects.
Other dangerous objects and more dangerous books. Okay? So, they say, yeah, you'll be a librarian. Okay? Dangerous things, dangerous knowledge, does that bother you? I don't know. Depending on what it was. I'd really like to work there. I do want to be busy, etc. So they say, all right, here's your birthday present. Go to Van Cell. She'll make you a librarian. You will become, so notice, Santa and Lirael have the ability to say what she will be. You will become a 3rd level librarian. third assistant librarian. Bill, did you have a question?
I was going to ask, why did they specifically say to work in the library you have to go to the old levels? Because 74, Muriel says you can't work in the library without getting into the old levels.
Oh, right. You don't experience this at MTSU's library. But in some of those larger libraries that I mentioned, like Oxford, Cambridge, British Library, Harvard, et cetera, you can't just wander the stacks necessarily. I mean, there are open reading stacks that you can. But if you want a rare book or a valuable book, okay, you have to fill out what's called a call sheet, call slip. And you put your name on it, and you tell them what table you're sitting at, because the seats are numbered, okay? And you fill out what's called the shelf mark of, let's say it's a manuscript, okay? British Library, BL additional manuscript 97236. And you turn that in, and they'll say, okay, it'll be a couple hours, because they then hand that to somebody, and that person then goes down, possibly, in the case of the British Library, it's more than likely up, into the, I can't think of the right word, the stacks where all this material is kept, but normally you can't go into it. Only the people working in the British Library can. Okay? And they go and they find that manuscript and they bring it back, and it could take a couple hours. Sometimes for some of these things, it can take 3 or 4 hours. For example, at the Bodleian Library at Oxford University, some materials are kept 7 miles away from the Bodleian. So you put in your request, and they say, come back tomorrow. Okay? Some of them, many of them, are kept underneath subterranean levels, okay, at the Bodleian. There's like 24 miles of corridors underneath the Bodleian and such. Okay? So they put in the thing, and they've got that motorized. Okay? So they go to where it is, put it on a conveyor, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's probably what she's talking about. To retrieve some things, you are going to have to go down into the old levels, and in the old levels, there's dangerous stuff lurking. Okay? So, we're told top of 75. In addition to written works, the old library, or the great library, has all kinds of stuff. Dressmakers' dummies, greenhouses, etc., etc. So it's not merely a collection of books. It's like a repository of all kinds of knowledge. Okay? So, they tell her who she's going to work for. Okay? So, she meets the chief librarian, chapter 6. And chief librarian, page 81, says, this is odd. We've never taken on a librarian whom we've never seen, capital S, as being a librarian. That is, all the people in the past who have become librarians are people that the Clare have seen as becoming. That is, foretold this person's going to become a librarian. But not you. That's odd. Okay? So you're a mystery. Well, where better to discover the solution to a mystery than in a place that supposedly houses all the knowledge and information of a culture. Okay? So, she's given some things. She's given her uniform. She's given the little mechanical mouse, so that if something happens to her, wind up the mouse and let it go. Okay? It'll find its way back and such. She's given a dagger and scabbard. The dagger's got charter marks on it and such. Just, protection in case something jumps out at you from the Book of Monsters or whatever. Let's see. The aide says, you'll need to go up to the head librarian to get this spell unlocked, page 86, on her wrist. 87, Lirael thanks her. She can feel the spell in the silver. There are actually 7 spells, she could tell, 1 for each emerald. She didn't know how they worked, etc., etc. Okay. Nor was she much wiser 10 minutes later when Vencel took her wrist, quickly cast a spell that was neither spoken nor had any obvious marks. Whatever it was, the spell lit up only 1 emerald, leaving the other 6 dark. So, this bracelet's got these 7 emeralds. She's now had 1 emerald lit up. What does that do?
Through certain doors.
Like these. Okay. But she now doesn't have to carry around a whole bunch of keys. She carries her keys on her bracelet. She goes up. If she has permission, the door will open. If she doesn't, the door will stay closed. Okay? And what are we told? Page 87. Takes her 3 months to get the next 4 spells in her bracelet open. Not the head librarian doing this. So now she can open a whole lot more doors. What's this tell us about her? 1, she's curious. 2, she's pretty good at charter magic. The fact that she can do this and she's only 14. Okay. Her daily work, we're told, page 88, leads her into temptation. How so? Well, she has some books, basic books, librarian's rules, basic bibliography. Okay. She learns those quickly enough. A month, page 89. So, because she already knows that stuff, she borrowed any book she could get her hands on. The Black Book of Bibliomancy. There's that word mancy has to do with magic. So, book magic. Interesting. Okay. Page 90. Learning to be a real charter mage gave her something to do. When all the other librarians or her fellows from the Hall of Youth were noticed engaged in more social activities. What does it mean, social activities? Going out, flirting, eating dinner together and such. The kind of stuff typical 14, 15-year-olds do. Okay? So let's keep skipping some. Beyond the doors of sun and moon, there's a huge watch called, page 96. Calling of 1,000, it's called 1568. The calling of 1,568 clear to the watch. Unprecedented. It would take nearly every librarian out of the library. So what does she think? Now I can explore. I can go wherever I want. As long as, her bracelet will get her into where she wants to go. Okay? So, she goes on in page 100. We're told, she looks through a gate to a passage. Beyond the gate's simple metal grill, emblem of a silver moon rather than a sun. She looks through the gate, sees a passage, and we're told bottom of that page. But aside from unknown dangers, there was no obvious reason not to try the gate. That is, what does the gate not have on it? Warning! Beware! Do not enter. No obvious sign. No, I don't know what you want to put. Skull and crossbones. So, she waves her arms, but it doesn't open. So, that gate won't open except to higher spells. And then she hears a click. And the right-hand part of the gate slowly opens. She looked at the narrow way and thought about it. What if there was something horrible beyond? But then again, what did she have to lose? What if there was something horrible? What the hell? Fear and curiosity fought inside her for a moment. Curiosity won. What does she mean? What does she have to lose? She's still 14 and doesn't have the sight. She's just doing what as a librarian? Why did the two sisters suggest she become a librarian in the first place?
Wasting time.
Give her something to do. Say it again.
Wasting time.
To waste time. To kill time. You know, okay, so maybe I die. Time will be killed. Her time. So, she goes in, she takes the mouse, she puts it down. If something goes wrong, she could scream, the mouse would go off. According to her superiors, page 101, it was not uncommon for librarians to lay down their lives for the benefit of the Clare as a whole, either in dangerous research, simple overwork, or action against previously unknown dangers discovered in the library's collection. Lirael believed this principle of self-sacrifice was particularly appropriate to herself. Why? Since the rest of the Clare had the sight and so needed to be alive much more than she did. So, does she think she's doing some great sacrificial action? Or is this merely her mind's way of justifying her sense of curiosity? Oh, if I die, it'll be for the good of the Clare. Yeah, right. So, she goes on. She goes into the corridor. She holds her dagger up, page 102, and the whole room is afloat in magic, strange, ancient charter magic she didn't understand, was almost afraid of. Notice, almost, that means not quite, though. Marked for remnants of some incredibly old spell, now senile and broken. Senile. What happens when you become senile? Crazy, one definition. What else? It's not literally crazy. It's not crazy like a psychopath or a madman is crazy. You lose your reason. Okay? Whatever the spell had once been, now it was no more than hundreds of disconnected marks. Enough remained of the spell, it makes you uneasy. Even in its broken form, it's trying to fulfill its purpose. And she's thinking, when did it break? It had been broken only recently, within weeks. She sees these plinths, which are like raised platforms, okay, lined up in a row. All were empty save one. Third from the left had a small model or statuette upon it. It's like if you go to a museum, you know, and there'll be a raised thing, and on that will be something encased in glass. Okay, the thing that it's sitting on is the plinth. She steps closer. She raises her light, and she knows she makes a mistake. She hears a crack. And suddenly, both feet went right through the panel of dark glass. She falls, her hand falls on the table, grabs the statuette, her knees hit the lip, page 104, where glass met stone, sending a jarring pain through to her head. Okay, her feet are stinging, cut by the glass. Her knees are cut. The glass had been the cover of a long coffin-like trench. Now, she didn't see what was inside this until the glass broke. Something like a sleeping naked woman. And then it has four arms as long as its legs, bent backwards with great claws on the end. So it's kind of like the monster in Alien, but womanish. Telltale metallic odor of free magic left a sour taste in her mouth. Okay. Creature and Lirael moved at the same time. In other words, this thing is now free. She has freed it because of breaking the glass. Okay. The monster reaches out. She tries to close it. She doesn't stay. She leaves. She forgets about the mouse and such. And page 107. She sees, as she's trying to keep the door closed, the monster does what monsters do in every monster movie. Think Jurassic Park. Those raptors. They get the claw in the door, so you can't slam the door closed. Okay? So she tries to use her whistle, we're told 107, and its shrill cry echoed up and down the spiral, but there was no one to hear it. And when her hand went to the mouse pocket, because now she remembers the mouse, so she sticks her hand in to get the mouse, forgetting she had already pulled it out. Instead, there's something in her pocket. A strange statuette of soft stone, not the familiar silver body of the mouse. The door shudders, gap increases. Right? Creature winning against the spell she used to try to keep it shut. She looks up the passage. Nobody's coming. What's she thinking? Oops. She could only think that whatever this thing was, it must not be let out into the main spiral. Why? Well, now she's thinking, sacrifice. I can't let this get to the rest of the clear. Okay? Now that death seemed likely, she realized how much she wanted to stay alive. She knew what must be done. She draws herself up, reaches into the charter. She speaks charter magic, okay? And she casts the spell. Next chapter. She feels the heat flow through her body. White fire exploded through her right hand into the creature. It gets knocked back. The door gets closed. And when she comes to, she doesn't know where she is. Why? Because she's not where she was when she went unconscious. She's on a bed. She's on a soft mattress. She touches her head. Blood. She remembers suddenly what she was trying to do. She remembers the door. Right, she lays still after that. Sorry, she isn't. She is still down there. I saw the mattress and I read it wrong. She's still down there. She feels the blood. She lays there. And we're told, page 111, no one could get in or out now without breaking Lirael's spell. Even the chief librarian would have to get her to lift it or break it. So it's some kind of spell that once a person casts it, only that person can remove it. So if somebody wanted to go in there, they'd have to get Lirael. If the thing that's in there wanted to come out, it would somehow have to get Lirael. Okay? She's thinking of the mouse, and she remembers the statuette. She pulls it out. It's a dog, carved from soft gray blue soapstone, pleasant to look at. She says, "Hello, dog." And shoot, man, so far behind. Okay, we'll stop there. If we have to, we'll take 3.5 days for Lirael. Have to cover a whole lot more.